Here we go. We're on.
Okay, we're in.
All right. So, well, being as you do a podcast, you want to promote it at all, or?
Sure, it's called Storytime with Dave. I haven't produced an episode in probably 3 weeks now.
That'll happen, yeah.
Yeah, but I just I'll probably make one today after we do this, to be honest. So yeah,
Yeah, now you're
Storytime with
motivated.
Dave. Yeah, I have nothing else to plug. So
Yeah, well, open mics.
oh yeah, come see me in the backyard of Tiff's.
Yeah, the
Something like
the
that.
reservation.
Yeah, Jesus, come see me at any
Underneath the
men's
billboard.
social club in New Jersey,
Yeah.
in North Jersey, because it's
Yeah.
the only place where comedy is anymore.
Yeah, get it where you can.
Yep.
But have you seen Andrew Schultz and what he's been doing?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I figured like that seems like something I could see you doing, just talking shit about everybody and everything.
I should do that because my cousin told me to do that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you do. I mean, like your stand-up's very much just poking fun at a lot of different types of people. So
It's true. Yeah,
it
so
makes sense for you to take that route.
I'll do that too. You're very inspirational, Preston, right off the bat, you know?
Thank you. I try. I watch a lot of Rogan, so I think I'm better than most people. You got
Yeah, it's working.
you got any videos specifically you want to watch? You want to jump right into the fucked up shit I got prepared?
I am very loosely aware of what you're trying to do here.
I just
Is it like your mom's house kinda?
Kinda. I mean, I really just it's like a mix. I watch your mom's house. I watch Rogan. I just like talking because I like to talk a lot for whatever reason. And then I like to see where the conversation goes. And I found out through the Zoom app you could just share your screen, so I could show videos. But I don't like to show normal videos because I don't really watch a lot of YouTube aside from podcasts. So all the shit I have is pretty fucked up. So I don't know if I can get pulled off Zoom or not, but I'm gonna give it a shot.
I mean, you fucked up could mean a lot of things. So this is still very vague to me.
Okay, so it's
Are
it's
we
not
watching
safe.
people die? Is this like
No,
Reddit
no.
/watch people die?
No, I don't have that, but I might pull that up now that you mentioned it.
I don't think that exists anymore.
I have
There's
a
other
couple.
ones.
There's I have a Reddit I follow about some about a feeding tube and what could go wrong.
I'll hold my feeding tube.
Yeah, hold my feeding tube. Yeah,
extreme car crashes.
Oh,
I follow
shit.
those too, but there's some that that it gets really, really, really dark.
Yeah, I haven't seen.
Stumbled upon these.
I've seen a couple where someone definitely died, but it wasn't like the worst thing I've ever seen. Like you don't physically see them die, but I saw one.
Dude, like there's some where you'll get into the cartel videos,
Okay,
cartel propaganda and ISIS propaganda.
I haven't
You'll
seen
get
that,
there, and it's like it scarred me. I can watch anything, and I make fucked up jokes all the time, and no, that stuff is scarring. Like you shouldn't even.
The death stuff I never really could watch. I had like a few groups on Facebook where people would share some fucked up shit. Like the one I actually ironically had a hard time. I don't know, maybe you would too. The guy was fucking a snake, which I couldn't even comprehend it. Like I was like, how's he doing this? And then
I've not seen that one, but yeah, I know. I see what you're saying.
That one messed me up a bit. And then a lot of the death ones I can't watch. Like I don't know what it is about like watching like the actual moment of death. I could see someone get fucked up, but I can't watch the moment of death where then I'm like, that's kind of sad. Like,
yeah.
Except for one, I saw one execution video and it was by ISIS and they tied a guy to a post, right? And then when they go to shoot him, the camera pans over to the guy shooting him and they have an RPG and they're like 20 feet away. I was like, this is extreme overkill and I'm into it.
Dude.
That one was funny to me, but like the other ones, I was like, this is a lot.
We're really like, this is right into dark art stuff right away. Yeah, there's a different. I saw ISIS video. This is one of the most fucked up ones I saw. Was like they had two guys who were like tied up and they had a chainsaw. And they decapitated these guys.
Oh, they were like tapping on the neck. And it was like the guy was like afraid to do it, but it was like still hitting it a bit.
This guy was not afraid at all to do it. The guy with the chainsaw. Okay. But the fucked up part was the second guy. It's like you got to watch someone get chainsaw.
Oh, that would be horrible. Yeah.
And
at that
you're
point,
next.
You just
it's the most fucked up thing, dude. It's so fucking. It's disturbing.
Yeah. Where to go from here? How about this? Shane McMurdo.
Yeah.
He tapped out of this video. So do you want to watch Nazi cuck porn?
If I have to.
You don't have to, but I'd like to see someone else's reaction other than my own.
Okay, let's see.
All right, here we go.
Nazi cuck porn? Is that where?
Yep, this is where we're at. Like, do you think this video would fly in the current climate? You know.
With you. The reason why I married you is because you used to be hard and you used to actually hate niggers. You like them now. You used to be like my Edward Norton in American History X. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You were cut up. Now you're fucking fat.
You know, I did a lot of bad things to black people. I mean, curb stompings, church burnings, baby assassinations. It was not hot.
I love that.
I have nightmares about that shit. And here you are, and you're like, oh, why don't you do it?
What the hell y'all talking about? Hey, I'm here to fuck your wife, man.
Yeah.
Fuck no, you're not.
No, I gotta get back to the black man. It's important that I...
Separations,
I don't want any fucking black
Separations.
cocking me.
Yes,
I
This
have
just
40 acres
consistently
and a mule,
escalates.
so...
I'm gonna be fucking tainted. It smells like fried chicken.
Wow.
Come closer, baby. I don't trust him. He's black. He probably just did a drive-by.
I did actually. On some chicken.
This is so weird, man.
Yeah, it's. How weird do you think it gets?
I mean, that was it within a minute. So I can only imagine.
I'm skipping ahead. I don't have it time stamped or anything, but I saw this in a band I was in I don't know, 8 years ago. It popped up. I'll stop screen sharing for a second so we don't have to stare at a black penis.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched this forever ago at a band practice, and we just stumbled across it because this site eFucked is just a gold mine. Like, have you ever seen It's Only Smells with
No.
Rocco? What's his name? Rocco Siffredi or whatever. Have you seen his documentary? They used to talk about him on Your Mom's House too, but he has a video where he's fucking a chick in the ass, and then he wants her to suck his dick afterwards, and she doesn't want to do it, and he's like, "Come on, it's only smells, it's only smells," and it zooms in, and there's like a little piece of shit on his dick.
Oh my god.
And dude, and this site is just all shit like this. It's like they just find all the weirdest shit in porn, and this video. I mean, we don't have to keep watching if you don't want to, but she goes on to saying so much fucked up shit the whole time it's going on, and then at the end, the dude steals a lamp and leaves. It's potentially the most racist video I've ever seen.
It's I've seen it enough, I think, of the video.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, dude, I actually just read a book. I've been reading all these Chris Hedges book. I don't know if you know who Chris Hedges is.
No, I don't. I'm not familiar.
He's amazing. But there's two books in particular. One is called America, the Farewell Tour, and one is called Empire of Illusion. But he talks about there's two chapters. They're the most disturbing chapters, and they're about porn. And specifically torture porn and weird fetish porn. And it's I don't know. It's weird. The more the more I think about it, the weirder it is. And it's we are fucked, you know? I'm so pessimistic about our society.
I get there pretty often, but I try to be optimistic.
I'm so pessimistic. It's hard to be any more pessimistic than I am. But I also that's one of the reasons why I haven't been making podcasts recently, because I want to bum everyone out because I'm so bummed out.
Well, I mean, if you can make
anxiety
about it.
I don't even want to. I love making jokes about fucked up stuff. I've been making Holocaust denial jokes for years, but this stuff, it's very, I don't know. It's it fucks with my head, but it's for example, one example, comedians always make jokes about how there's so much incest porn, you know?
Yeah, that is weird.
But yeah, exactly. It's one of those things. It's oh, I see that too when I'm on Pornhub on the front page, and half of the videos are stepmom and
that one. It's they're trying to
brother and sister.
Yeah, or it'll say not my next to it.
Yeah,
it's it gets so odd, dude.
But and yeah, so it's at first, I mean, I never thought those jokes were funny because I think they're all hacky.
Well, yeah, I mean, if everyone's doing it.
Yeah, but that's why I didn't like them, because I was oh, everyone's got a joke about this. But then I'm starting this is weird. You know, I'm I never thought about it critically at all, but I'm this is really weird. It's not
Well, society in general, there's a bunch of people that have talked about how porn is really not good for society.
Yeah.
It's been really affecting people negatively, especially with like, you know, because kids, like when I was younger, I mean, I'm 28, so you're right around my age, I think.
Yeah, I'm 27.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, you look 40, but otherwise.
Thank you.
But they like when I was younger, I remember like I had AOL, so if I wanted to like look at a titty, it took a while. But now, like, I mean, my
it would
son
like slowly load the screen, you know, like dial-up internet.
Yeah, it was horrible. And then, but now, I mean, my son has an iPad, and like you know, it's all like locked up and stuff, and he doesn't really know how to do any of that stuff anyway. But I mean, a kid who's 12, if you're really looking, you could just type in on Google, like whatever you want to see, and you'll find a site that'll give it to you.
I know. Dude, there's like all these weird things that I never noticed before and that I start to notice now. I mean, for one thing, like also this is in the Hedges books, and he talks about like the idea of consent and like safe words and stuff. Like, for example, he writes about this one like torture video where they have a safe word. Like the woman has a safe word. It's this young, she's probably like 19, 20 years old. She's got a ball gag in her mouth.
So she can't say it.
Yeah. And you're watching her get tortured. And that's like torture porn. I never watch torture porn because that shit weirds me the fuck out. But it's out there, and there's so much of it.
I never really watched any of it, but
I think it's like gateway drug stuff. You know what it's the same. I mean, but that's like to your point. Like
if you start young, you're gonna
the accessibility of younger people now, as opposed to when we were growing up or before. It's like you might be into that weird shit by the time you're like 16 years old.
Yeah, because if you start, like, if, you know, you couldn't really get a hold of porn until you're, you know, 17 or so when I was growing up, your shit was like, oh, like the hot mom next door or something like that was like risque, or at least, you know, starting to push the envelope. And then, because we didn't have time for it to, like, when you're like 12 or 13, that's what you get introduced to. By the time you're 20, you're like, that shit ain't doing nothing for me. I need to see someone get their balls stomped on.
Yeah, dude, like, I think I saw like a Your Mom's House video where they're showing videos like that.
Yeah, they show. Yeah,
well, but it's like. Wait, no, you go ahead.
Oh, they just showed the guy when he shits his own balls out.
That's so weird, man.
Well, they had him on too to like talk about how he was able to do it. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Apparently, he does like porn. He just like, you know, over time is like kind of slowly stretched his balls. And he was like, I wonder if I could fit these in my ass. And then he could. So he was like, oh, that's like my new thing. And I guess he's like an A-lister in like the gay porn shit. I don't know. But that's whatever.
Like, what a badge of honor.
Yeah, new revenue.
A-lister and gay porn. But it's also like, you know, like it even goes to Freud. And like everyone's like, oh, he's so obsessed with sexuality.
Yeah.
And
he was
like
kind of weird though.
He was, but it's also like maybe he was more right about that fixation. Like maybe it does have a direct reflection.
It definitely could. I mean,
you know, I don't know, because it's like as things get worse, the porn gets weirder, you know?
That's true. I never thought of that, but that's true. I mean,
it's so weird, dude.
Everything in general is getting to the point where, I mean, Rogan has brought this up a few times, but the fact that they like, there's so much going on that when they like the government releases videos saying like UFOs are real and no one talks about it, like no one seems to give a shit about things that like when I was like, I mean, even 5 years ago, if the government was like, hey, look, here's the thing, we don't know what the fuck it is, everyone would be like, holy shit. And now they were like, fuck it, I'm busy arguing over race and Trump.
That's de Blasio. You'll like this. De Blasio keeps sending me these things on he keeps sending me these news articles that I don't even think they're real. But about really woke stuff that's just absurd woke stuff. Like this one he just sent me today. It's sleep isn't equitable. So these artists want rest as reparations. And it's called Black Power Naps.
Okay.
You want me to read you some of this?
Yeah, go ahead. I could even try to pull it up.
Yeah, you could. It's called, I mean, it's Teen Vogue.
Teen Vogue. I saw someone, maybe I saw him post about it on something. What's the name of the article?
It's called Sleep Isn't Equitable. Maybe just try that. That should do it. Black Power Naps, addressing systemic racism in sleep.
I see Huffington Post. I'll type in Black Power Naps on. See if that helps.
That might help.
If not, you might just have to read yours. Oh, Teen Vogue. Here we go. Black power naps.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
It's bam. That's it right here.
That's it. That's the one.
Any specific part that's better to read?
I read the first like 2 paragraphs and I was like, this isn't real. That's what I said to Chris. Because it's okay, look, Fanny and Navilled?
Navilled? I don't know, yeah. Acosta?
But like, look at the, a generational fatigue familiar to Black people and people of color. For this sleeplessness, the 2 created Black power naps. It came from the understanding that the American dream is a sleepless one. Like, what does that mean? We inherited this exhaustion. I'm like, what are you talking about? At first, I would get bothered by these things. I mean, we don't even have to read anymore.
Seeing if it says anything else crazy, but
it gets. I mean, I'm sure it just gets more absurd. But that's the thing. Like, at first, I would get bothered by these things. And for example, like the Black Lives Matter movement, and if you look on their website,
where it goes, where all the money goes,
and the mission statement, and it doesn't say on any. There's nothing in the entire mission statement. There's not one sentence about prison industrial complex. I'm like, how could this be? How could you not mention that?
Well, because
like that's like one of
the founders of that specific. Because, I mean, there's like a movement and then there's the organization.
Exactly. The organization is not necessarily reflective of everyone who believes in BLM.
No,
but
the leaders of it, they came out as like the 3 women, I think they're lesbians too, about being Marxists, like they're trained Marxists. Like
I mean, it says that on the mission statement too. Like you could just, if people don't believe this, you could just literally go to the website.
I'll do it right now.
And you can go to the last paragraph is about like dismantling the Western ideal of the nuclear family. It's like, what is that about?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure about that guy that you were talking about earlier and reading his stuff, if he's said anything about it. There's a lot of people that have basically credited the loss of like the nuclear family as a reason why the culture here is starting to strongly deteriorate. No one has any strong moral backing with their family structure.
Well, you go to the top, and you can go to. I think there's one that says mission statement. Oh no, maybe it's about. Let's see. What we believe. Go to that. What we believe. And then it's at the bottom.
There's a lot here.
I know. And there's a lot of stuff about Black trans women, like that. This is a.
They started. Oh, right here it says heterosexual. Well, they bring up the fact that it's like sex-based, which has nothing to do with.
Oh, here you go. We disrupt the Western's prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. Here's the thing, dude. That part sounds like fucking Plato's Republic. Yeah. You know, like no individual parent rights over your children. It's like hand your kids to the state, it sounds like. I mean, they're talking about villages and stuff, but it's just when you
weird. Think about it in that sense, it was a few years back, because I remember Shapiro talked about it. They were saying with the whole kids getting hormone treatment, so with the whole trans thing being kind of paired with this, they were saying if a parent wouldn't let their child, like a 6-year-old, transition through hormone therapy, they would potentially start trying to go to homes and removing the kids. And Shapiro said, I'll meet you on the porch with a shotgun.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's like, I have that joke, but that's what that's about. Like my kid said he wants to be a pirate, so I cut his leg off and sent him to Somalia, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, these people are you can't even wrap your head around it. They're like, no, if an 8-year-old boy says that he's a girl, then he's a girl. And you're like, I mean, like if there's a big difference between like a 19-year-old who like wants to go through hormone therapy, it's like, that's fine.
Yeah, but once you get to a certain point and you realize like this isn't what you want to be living and you want to try something else. But when you're 8, I mean, Everyone made like the analogies, like a kid wants to be like an astronaut, or this kid wants to be a dinosaur. Like you can't be a dinosaur.
Yeah, and then why if you want to be something, whatever it is, when you're a kid, you don't have like the ability to think what that actually means.
No, because you just have like whatever perception that you have of the world at that point anyway, which is very naive.
Even when you get older, it's like I had dabbled like wanting to go to law school when I was in college, and then I started to think
not stereotypical.
I know. I'm an accountant now, so it's like whatever. I lean into that shit, but then I had never thought about my entire life. I was always like, I want to be a lawyer, but then I had never thought about what that meant day to day.
It's a bitch. It's
like you're reading through 50 page long like loan agreements and shit. Like my friend Priv is in law school right now. He's doing some law work and he sends us the really boring bullshit that he has to deal with. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's not like standing in front of a judge like, Your Honor, this is, and like
that's like a quarter
sometimes
of it,
it
not
is.
even.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like
I went to school for criminal justice for a while, so I saw like that end of it to a degree, but being a lawyer always sounded like not the funnest thing, because there's different types of it too, but I mean, unless you're going to become like a prosecutor, you're not going to be doing any fun shit.
No, or like a defense lawyer, but most of it is like you're doing
things you don't want to do, like
contracts and shit. Yeah.
Or you're defending someone that you know is a piece of shit, or you're trying to put someone in jail that you don't think should go to jail for smoking pot. It's like,
yeah, exactly. And I have a different friend whose brother is a lawyer, and then he had gotten into some predatory law. He only did it for a few months because he was making like 80 or 90 grand, like right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
But he said it was so like he's literally making like 30% less money now, but he just doesn't feel like a complete piece of shit.
Oh, can you explain it a little bit more?
He was basically doing like corporate law and working on behalf of the corporation in a predatory way. I mean, I don't remember. I was very drunk when he was explaining this to me. We were at a party, but it was just like, I had a job, for example, that I did for 5 days, which was this like publication. I forget what it was called, like Top 100 or something. And you would basically scam people. You would call anyone who's a lawyer or a doctor and say, hey, we're with Top 100 doctors in whatever state they're in.
Yeah.
And you've been selected as our top doctor in the state of Arizona. Would you like, we'd like to feature you in the magazine. They're like, oh yeah, cool. That sounds great. And we're like, okay. So as we agreed, and we tricked them into thinking they already agreed to this. As we agreed in the initial email that we sent you, you just need to pay a one-time payment of $1,000. And then we'll send the magazine out to you. We had this lie that we had a readership of 800,000 people. They would just send the one person who bought it a magazine. So they would print like, if there were
dummy companies, basically.
Yeah, if there were 100 people in the magazine, 100 copies of that magazine got printed. And these people paid anywhere from $100 to $1,000 to be featured in it, a thing that no one would see.
There's a lot of companies like this, yeah.
Yeah, so I was able to figure this out in a week of working there. I was like, oh my God, this is a gigantic scam. Like the people working there, I think half knew it was a scam, but were willing to like make that cognitive dissonance or whatever to like feel okay about it.
Well, yeah. There's a lot of people who can get away with.
Exactly. That's what
don't have a moral.
You could do all the mental gymnastics to make it out to be like, well, I have a tough life.
Or they're doctors, so like it's not like they can't spare the
it's like they got the money. But that's the thing, that 95% of the people you call will pick up, especially the lawyers, because you know how lawyers are. One lawyer, he picked up, and I'm like, hi, I'm here with Top 100 Lawyers. He goes, hang on, I'm putting you on speakerphone. Like he was in an office and he puts me on speakerphone. And he just started making fun of me. Because I was like, yeah, you've been a member with us. He's like, no, I haven't. I've never even heard of you. He's like, you're so full of shit, dude. And they were laughing in the background. And I was like, this is what I deserve. I was like, I love this guy.
Yeah.
Because
he was smart enough to pick up on it too.
Well, most of them were. And the people who were, all the people who were willing to pay the money, they were old and senile, basically.
Yeah, that'll happen.
These were really old people. And it was just sad. So I already felt bad. I was having trouble sleeping, working there for 3 days. I was like, I
can imagine. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, there's companies that are like that aren't as egregious in terms of like who they target. But like I had somebody, they were ordering something for like a washing machine. It was like a weird magnetic part to where, you know, like where the vent goes out of your house to where it would lock it like together basically. And he went on like 3 different sites, and the one they had him in stock. So he ordered it, and all of a sudden it wasn't in stock. And like he went through like 4 months trying to get it. It was like $50. So on their end, they could be like, well, it's not a lot of money and it's not a big deal. But it's just a fake company that puts up fake products.
right.
They do it on Amazon and shit all the time. And like they get pulled, like when they finally get company. It's like, that's a super common thing.
Yeah.
I don't buy shit unless there's like 15,000 reviews. Like,
Yeah, right.
Not doing it. There better be enough people telling me it works.
I know. But that's the thing. It's like, if it was a situation where I was just ripping off like rich lawyers who were like, oh yeah, $1,000, I don't give a fuck. I make $500,000 a year. Sure. Here you go. Here's that. If that was the case, I would have felt way better about it, but that just wasn't the case. Those people could see it a mile away.
No, it said you're attacking old people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're a predator. That's what you were.
Exactly. I was a professional predator. That's what I named the episode because I made a podcast about it. It's called Professional Predator.
That's not a bad name.
Mm-hmm.
You should just rename the podcast.
Huh? Oh yeah, exactly. Like the whole podcast, I'll just call it. Well, being a Jew, it's like you're basically a professional predator.
Yeah, I mean Nick Cannon basically called you guys out recently.
I know. I can't believe he got canceled. I'm like, no.
I didn't think
Nick Cannon, dude.
I didn't
Free
even
Nick
hear
Cannon.
about it. I saw the Andrew Schultz thing earlier today. I was like, oh, I guess he got fired. I thought nothing would have happened to him. Honestly,
I'm not even exactly sure what he said, but
he said the Jew part was that you guys run the banking system.
Completely true. I mean, I can't believe the ability that they've been able to make that anti-Semitic. And again, I am a Jew, so I can call them out all I want, but they'll kill me. Just know that I'll die. I get suicided, just like Epstein did. I will get suicided eventually. If I get too much power, it's going to be a wrap for me. But that's why I can't stand, you mentioned Ben Shapiro earlier. Mm-hmm. And some of the stuff that he does against the wokes, I'm like, sure, I agree with you, but he's a cuck for the Jews.
Well, he's a
cuck for he's a Zionist. And these people, it's sad, but it's also funny in a way. There's no one more hypocritical than a Zionist because their whole thing is like the Holocaust happened, so you have to feel bad for us and you have to go along with anything we say. Meanwhile, they're like genociding Palestinians.
Oh yeah, they're not people to them.
Exactly, they're animals, and they're supremacists, dude. Zionists are like we are.
Well, I mean,
they're the chosen people.
I was gonna say they're the chosen people. So like, other people don't matter. I mean, when you run like a Hasidic Jew, they get very much like that. I'm not super familiar with all the different sects of being a Jew, but when I worked in Liberty, New York, I was working at a ShopRite, and the Hasidic Jews would come in there, and they were fucking mean. Yeah, some of them were cool, but
I used to do like valet at one of the places called Rockley Country Club. I don't know if I should have said that, but whatever.
I'm sure no one will see my podcast anyway.
Yeah, I know. It's like they would have gigantic weddings, and this is where they go because it's near Muncie, and that's like the Mecca in outside of Brooklyn, I guess. But we're talking about like 1,000, 1,200 Hasidic Jews, and those were the worst nights ever. They were ridiculous.
They can get mean. They can get nasty. I mean, there's a lot of videos. Your mom's house had one that they played where it was just a guy. I guess he was probably golfing because he was in a golf cart, and he was just pulling like up towards where you would bring the golf cart, and they just swarm him. It's a bunch of like teenage ones, and they're just like, "Come on, give me the keys, give me the keys." And they're not like asking. They're just like, "Give me the keys," and he's like, "Let me get my stuff." It's like, yeah.
I remember one time there was a guy. This was one of the worst ones. We had the area by the entrance. The parking lot was way back here. The area and the entrance, we had to keep it clear because, like I said, there's 1,000 people coming to this wedding. That's like 400 cars. We only have capacity for like 250 cars. So that's another reason why they were such stressful nights. But this guy comes up in a minivan because they all got minivans, dude. I don't know why.
Because they go to like camps and stuff. At least up in Liberty, they'd come to like there's a trampoline place they put by the ShopRite, and it was weird because like they have like the big outfits and stuff a lot of the times.
Yeah.
And they go to the trampoline place. I'm like, this is gonna be the most awkward, fun time.
And they have a lot of kids too.
Yeah,
and
they do.
Dude, they're so abusive to women too. It was like this. I mean, like you'd see these women who are miserable. You could
There's
just
a
see it in their
documentary on it.
eyes. It's like I've seen the documentary.
Yeah.
And then
on
you
Netflix.
could see it in person. You just see these women who are like, they just look, it's like you could see it. It's like when you see a woman who's like trapped in a marriage that she doesn't want to be in, and it's just like,
yeah, I'm married.
You see it all the time. You see it all the time. But
I see it every day.
Nice. But I remember this guy, he pulls up right to the front and parks like horizontally on the curb. Like it was like.
Didn't it make sense?
So I walk up to him. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, what do you think you're doing? I was like, you can't do this. He's like, no, I know the family. I'm allowed to do this. And I'm like, no. I'm like, everyone knows the fucking family. There's like, it's always the same 1,000 of you at every wedding. So I know you know the family. You know everyone in there. I'm like that. But he had a full, the minivan was full of boxes. I don't know what it was. It was just stuff. It was these brown cardboard boxes. Tons of them. This woman comes out who works inside and he's like, okay, fine, I'll move the car, but I got to move all the boxes in first. We got to move all the boxes in. This woman comes out who's like a maitre d', and she has a cast on her one hand. Like, I guess she broke her wrist or something. Mm-hmm. And the guy just goes, okay, so the boxes got to go inside. Thank you. And he goes to walk inside, like just to let her do it alone.
Yeah.
With a broken wrist.
He's not about to do it.
And she started yelling at him. And she goes, what the fuck? She's like, you think I'm going to bring this shit in? No way. And I was like, yeah, you can't just leave. It was so funny. He just wanted us to do it.
Yeah.
To bring in like 50 boxes. He just was like, okay, you do it. And then he just walked in and we were like, whoa, easy, dude. We were like, no. I was like, I'll start smashing the boxes if you don't do it. You know, I'm like, I couldn't deal with these people. And then they would occasionally throw the Holocaust card at me. And I'd be like, you're going to do that with me? No, sir, you can't do that with me. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So, oh my God, a nightmare.
All you're doing is making me a big Nick Cannon fan.
Yeah, I mean, I've never liked him more than I do right now, to be honest.
I read some of the things he said because it wasn't just, the Jew thing. He gets into just white people in general. And I mean, he says things that I've heard being said the opposite direction. It's just like flipping on its head. So if it was like a joke or like some sort of like satire thing or like something to point out the hypocrisy of something like that, but it was just like it just seemed like he was just kind of angry and trying to be relevant because Eminem won't battle him.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's like the thing. I think you said something about white people being savages
or animals. We're more like animals.
More like animals, and it's like, well, like every atrocity I could think of the last 100 plus years has been white people doing it.
I could think of a lot that weren't just white people.
I guess you're right, but think about the big ones. Like you talk, I mean, obviously there's the Holocaust, there's the slave trade, there's
a slave trade now.
That's true, and it is mostly black people, so I guess that one's out the window. We did genocide Native Americans too,
Yeah, well, I mean, how else are we supposed to take some land?
I guess what the conclusion here then is that we're just animals, all of us. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. You're an animal.
No, everyone's a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. It's weird because like the more and more I look at things, the more and more I look back at episodes of South Park that I thought were like funny enough and had like a decent point. I'm like, Jesus, this is like 2 on the head.
Dude, I have had the same conversation with Nicole like a week and a half ago. I told her, I was like, you need to go back and watch some of because we've been getting into more conspiracy stuff, but also some of it's not even conspiracy stuff. Like
not anymore. Now it's just a thing.
It's just out in the open.
Yeah.
So it's like things we know. And it's like the idea of like the corporate state is not a conspiracy theory. It's like literally we have a it's not a democracy, dude.
We don't have capitalism, we have corporatism.
Exactly.
So I get mad when people get mad at capitalism. Like, we don't have capitalism.
You're getting mad at the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same way. It's like the theory of capitalism works so well in a small, more controlled
like communism.
Like exactly, dude. It's like you could have a little commune with like 100 people in a small town, and everyone works together, and that's great. It's beautiful. And you can have small town capitalism, small businesses, everyone supporting each other's business, works great. Now, once you make a global scale with capitalism, especially,
I think
it just doesn't work anymore.
What's his name? He did Fear and Loathing. He wrote the book. Huge author. Dead now. Crazy dude. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Shit like that.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I never read it.
I never read it either, but he's written like a million things, this guy. He used to wear the crazy glasses.
I know who you're talking about, I think, but I forget his name too. I'm Googling it right now.
I am as well.
Okay.
As soon as it loads. Hunter S. Thompson.
Hunter S. Thompson, yeah. I never read anything by him, but everyone always says great things. So
I haven't actually read it either, but I do know that he has a quote where he said, I think it was him who had the quote, where you basically have to act local. And everyone keeps trying to, especially if you look at politics now with how social media interplays, everyone's bitching about these massive scale things that no one person could ever handle. If you just dealt with shit in your proximity, if you're just nice and treat people around you kindly and help the people that you can help or that you care to help and just work on your actual community, and if everyone did that, everything would be fine. But people don't do that. They ignore that, and they bitch about global things that aren't even happening near them. And so nothing gets fixed.
That's the other thing that I think people do that. I think most people do that. I think that a lot of these, like that article that I was going to make that point, like the article about black sleep, black naps,
they need
black
more
power
sleep
naps.
or something. Yeah.
And that's just made up. It's not even a thing. I think they literally call these two black people. They're like, we're trying to do a magazine thing. We know you guys are activists because you just act like you have this little movement called Black Power Naps, and we're going to write an article about it. They're like, yeah, sure, sounds good to us. But even if it is true, it's like, why would you publish it? It's like, what's the angle? It's like just to make people mad at each other.
Or it's just because
that's all it is.
It's usually, I look at it as it's almost always a white person with purple hair or a septum piercing, and they want other people to think that they are doing something when in reality they're not doing shit. They just want to feel important. Because when all the shit went down with George Floyd, I don't even know how many people I saw, their Instagram was black, or they would take a screenshot of how they donated to the Black Lives Matter movement. But you're not actually doing anything. You're just saying to other people, look at me, I'm on the right team.
It's so you could scold other whites. This is more of a white movement now than a black movement.
We tend to steal things from them a lot.
Exactly. We always do. But this is white people in a desperate attempt for some kind of superiority over other white people. This happens all the time. This is so linked to the entire, just how
hierarchies work.
Yeah.
Someone always wants to rule over someone else. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, this whole movement is just...
South Park had the whole episode on science versus science. My science is better than your science.
Yeah.
That's literally happening now. Because I didn't realize science isn't even done like it's supposed to be done anymore. There's a lot of shit. People, if you just post into an art, like whatever paper that you write, if you bring it to a journal and you send it in and you show, whatever research you did, they could just publish it and go, yep. And it's just a scientific fact now. Whereas it used to be people would also recreate it and make sure that it's true.
You need to have replicable. It needs to be replicable.
Yeah, it's getting the point.
Is that the right word? Replicatable?
I think so. You're probably smarter than me. You have that Jewish blood, so
that's just the perception.
My people didn't like your people so much. So I'm mostly German.
I'm actually mostly German too, so I don't even.
There were a lot of German Jews up until a certain point in time.
Yeah, dude. I have Jewish family in Israel, and I met some of them, and they're so German, and Germans are so boring and lame. I'm like, why can't you guys be cooler?
I like sauerkraut. We have Ramstein. They're fucking weird.
Okay, well, what were we talking about?
I don't know.
Fuck.
Lots of the last thing I was talking about was the science not being replicable.
Oh, yeah. First of all, it's you're absolutely right. There's a lot of this. I noticed so many things. First of all, people will post things on Facebook all the time, and then a headline will be like, new study shows that blank. And no one looks at the study, because they think that they can't comprehend it, or because they don't even include it
most
in
of the time
the article.
I got into a thing about, it was something about the trans thing, and it was about athletics and shit. And someone said that there was an article posting that there's no biological difference in the sexes. And I was like, that's not fucking true. And she's like, well, I just posted the article. I was like, did you read the article? Because it says, we think we may have found some information that leads to saying this. I'm like, it's just an article saying that they think they maybe have a leeway in this direction. It doesn't prove shit.
And I tell people this all the time, especially on my podcast, like, you think, okay, if you read the abstract of some of these studies, they're hard to understand because they use a lot of jargon. Like, if you're not a biologist, you might not know all of the words that they're using in the abstract or in the methodology. So all of these studies are broken into a few sections. Like, they'll have like kind of an introduction where they tell you what they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And then they'll have like the methodology, which is like, this is how we're doing it. And then there's like the data, then there's the conclusion, and then there's the summary. And
you could literally recreate it.
Yeah, and if you're gonna look at the methodology, for example, that might be really confusing and hard to understand, but just skip to you don't have to read any of it. All these studies are between 20 and 50 pages, so you don't have to read it all. Just go to the summary at the end, and they will tell you what happened. And a lot of the time they'll go, well, what we thought was this, but what actually happened, it did not match our it's like the most reputable studies are like,
you have a hypothesis.
Yeah. Yeah.
You almost always discover something by accident.
Exactly. And then that's when you know that that's more reputable, because they go, well, we thought this and we were totally wrong. Here's what we actually found. Mm-hmm. Because there's like that degree of like humbleness, and they're like, so you're like, oh, maybe this person, because if someone had an agenda, they wouldn't admit that. They would just destroy the study.
I feel like most science that I see posted now has a pretty clear agenda. I mean, there's a Facebook page called I Fucking Love Science. Did you ever follow that?
No.
Okay. Well, I used to follow it like now, Trump's been president 4 years. So about 4 years ago, I stopped following them because up until then I was like, oh, that's cool. And then they were like, some things would get political, but I was like, okay, whatever. And then dude, there was so many pages that the second he became president, I was like, what the fuck am I looking at? Like there was there was a Democrat page I was on, and that one just like, it got so fucking like drinking Kool-Aid in the opposite direction. And I didn't even like Trump. I still don't like Trump, but when it first happened, I was like, Jesus Christ, like the amount of shit that would come out that had nothing to do with science from the I Fucking Love Science page, or it was like clearly pushing like a very left-leaning agenda. And it was like, again, more opinion articles than actual science.
Dude, it's not even left, too. That's the other thing. Well, it's not left.
I guess I would call it like, I don't know what you'd call it, but I mean, it's progressive activism.
I don't even, because a lot of it's regressive. They just call it progressive. You know what I mean? A lot of the ideas are regressive. So it's like, I don't even know what to call it. I don't even know. I mean, like you could broadly call it wokeness, I guess. Yeah. But
they all tend to
I don't even know how to identify it, because it's not left, really.
I don't know what's what anymore. Because, I mean, I saw a political scale, they always have the left to the right, and then like there's like the center and where you'd be placed potentially based on your morals or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it was maybe Shapiro as well, or maybe it was Peterson. I was watching them on some sort of discussion, and they talked about how the left has gone so left now with people like AOC and all these other people. It just keeps getting more and more like this weird ideology that people who would normally have been considered left are now considered either center or right of center. It's like the whole scale is shifting because of how, like, crazy the one ideology is getting.
Well, it's also, I mean, on I think it's because of the corporate nature of the Democratic Party that they don't push it further left. They make it more crazy. Mm-hmm. Because if it was like economically driven, if people like realize that the root of a lot of these issues are not actually, I mean, again, like we mentioned the nuclear family thing.
Yeah.
Okay. What makes you the most likely to get into crime is not having a dad when you grow up. Mm-hmm. And why do a lot of
that's because of toxic masculinity.
Why do a lot of black people in inner cities not have dads? Well, because their dad's in jail for a fucking non-violent criminal offense because of the fucking Bill Clinton crime bill that Joe Biden wrote. And it goes back before that too, because it's like, and both parties are complicit in it, because it's like Reagan's war on drugs.
Well, Reagan's a fucking lunatic too.
And Nixon, it's like they were all complicit in this. And it's like
I think they're on the same team behind the curtain
under Obama. Dude, if you take a macro view of the year 2000 to 2016, we had the same president. He just had a different skin color. George Bush morphed into Barack Obama. It's the same president we had. Everything was the same. It's just that Obama a lot smarter and way better at speaking. But
he definitely
look at what happened, it's the same thing. You know?
Not much of anything. Not much of anything good.
Not much of anything except for invading new countries, expanding surveillance state, taking away more rights from people.
I feel like that's going to continue to happen. Now it's getting really bad with that shit. I saw the other day, I think it was the protesters were getting thrown in vans. I didn't look super far into it.
I didn't look that much into it, but that's one of the darkest things that I've seen in a while.
Well, I saw that, and they had they were walking through the street. I'm assuming you saw this video. This is during the heat of the riots. There was a woman on her porch just filming, and I think it was whoever they called it in the military. They're walking down the street, and they keep saying, "Get inside," and then they just turn and start shooting at them with rubber bullets.
I saw that one. Yeah,
standing on their own porch.
Yep.
I'm pretty anti-government, so I'm I don't agree with most the left-leaning stuff that they bitch about, but at the same time, I'm not going to sit there and not criticize the fact that we have military walking through the streets shooting.
No, yeah. People. So I don't understand it. I mean, that's the other thing. If you're anti-government, then the current version of the right-left paradigm would make you more probably sympathetic to the right.
Yep.
Mostly because they are. I mean, it's so sad that they've become the free speech party.
Yeah.
But they kind of more so are. Which I'm how could that's like a tenet of liberalism.
Kind of.
Freedom of speech.
Isn't Tipper Gore? They're liberals, aren't they?
In real liberalism, I was gonna say,
well, Tipper Gore tried to attack the music industry and get
Al Gore.
It's his wife.
Oh, well, he's scum.
Well, yeah,
dude, but there's Michael Moore came out with a new documentary.
I think you posted.
I don't know if you saw that. I posted about it.
I didn't see it though.
Yeah, it's really good. It's an hour and a half. It's free on YouTube, but it's about these environmental groups and activists and renewable energy and all this stuff, and how it's not what it claims to be at all. And it got corporatized the same way the government got corporatized.
You can't talk about it though, because the second you start saying anything, they go, "You haven't read the science," and it's I don't think.
Oh my god, dude! No, they clearly haven't. I mean, it's amazing stuff that I didn't know. They make solar panels. The blue stuff on solar panels is made from coal.
Yep.
It's coal. It's 2 parts coal and 1 part quartz. That's how they make it. Mm-hmm. Biomass, if you ever heard of that. I mean, I guess it's biomass or biofuel.
I'm not sure.
That's burning wood chips. That's how they make that. And it's classified as renewable energy. You cut down forests for these power plants. Things. It's you'd be better off using natural gas. That's the funny thing. It's
nuclear power. Isn't nuclear power considered a very good solution, but then the environmentalists don't want to go with that?
It's also, I don't know, nuclear power is a little sketchy too, because the nuclear waste and the danger, especially if you're going to talk about the Fukushima, if
Chernobyl.
Yeah, I mean, if climate change,
you get really good shows out of it.
They do. They make a lot of money off the shows out of it. But if climate change is going to get worse and these natural disasters are going to be more severe, then you don't want to have the liability of having something that, in the event of a catastrophic failure, could create
more
havoc, complete havoc, which is what happens when there's a nuclear power plant disaster. It's not only does it kill a lot of people and give a lot of people cancer at the time, that becomes a dead zone. You have entire areas you just can't use it anymore. So I don't know. It's I don't know. I mean, obviously it's they've been saying since the 1970s that we only have 10 years left and stuff like this. I don't know if that makes them wrong. You know what I mean? They're just wrong about the time, but it's I don't know if that makes the theory wrong. And
I'm sure eventually it'll get to a point where, it's uninhabitable for how we are right now, but I don't think it's in our lifetime going to be that bad. I feel like there's either going to be a solution because someone's going to have to come up with something, because either way, no matter who you are, you don't want to die. So even if you're like one of like the powerful elites who want to continue polluting, at some point, it'll be financially feasible for them to be like, I have the solution, because then they're going to make money off of it. I mean, then you have like the Elon Musks who are trying to get us to Mars and just terraform another place. But
yes, I don't know. And then the other thing about this documentary, because it's a really good documentary, it's called Planet of the Humans.
It's weird to me that he made it, because I feel like, isn't he normally like very, I don't know much about him, but he's very left-leaning as far as I know.
He's very left-leaning, and that's why YouTube had removed it for a few weeks. YouTube's banned it, but he fought back and he got him to put it back up, because I don't know how they don't understand that the second you remove it and ban it, it gives it way more credibility. And then people go, oh, why'd they ban it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're more likely.
Moore did it.
Exactly.
He banned something that's very well known. Yeah, he's super well known.
He executive produced it, and it's really this other guy who had done all the research, I guess. And so Michael Moore just like let him use his platform, basically. Yeah. But
which also makes it credible, though. I mean,
yeah. But that's, again, it's like I always tend to trust people a little more who were there, who were here, and now they're here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, it's like, why'd you change your mind?
I used to think this, and I was totally wrong. Like I always, it depends on the person, obviously. I mean, some of them are full of shit, but some of them, I'm like, if you're willing to admit that you're completely wrong on something, that to me gives you a little more credibility. Because so many people are like, they double down. Once they realize something's wrong, they double down, and they're like,
well, because they don't want to lose. They don't want to lose.
Exactly. It's a battle.
And they start Googling shit, and you can always find something that has your side.
Yeah. But one of the things in the documentary, they start talking about population control. And it just, they don't really go too into it, but I'm like, there are people who talk about this stuff and have real conversations about this stuff. Mm-hmm. And then meanwhile, you see
power.
Yeah. And then you see Bill Gates, and he's like giving these vaccines that are either new or like banned in the United States to like Africans and Indians. And
again,
then
you can't say these things because people are saying that those work really well.
And because he's a hero. He's the hero. Even though there's like tens of thousands of women in India who are chemically castrated because of him. They're sterilized because of faulty vaccines that he gave them, because he couldn't give them in the United States. And I'm like, wait a second, is he really like...
Something I didn't know about, and I saw on the video I was watching with Schultz earlier, and he was talking about Maxwell. He brings up that Bill Gates went to go see Epstein after his conviction in like 2008 for funding for something. And he's like, doesn't Bill Gates have the funding? It's called Microsoft.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you meeting up with Epstein? I mean, dude, Alex, what's his name? Crazy dude.
Alex Jones?
Yeah. I mean, there's oddly a lot of stuff that he said that's slowly like, is he just fucking crazy, or is he kind of like on to some shit?
I have heard one thing on one of these podcasts that I was listening to, because like I don't know. I'm like, I get interested in it, and I'm like, just give me all the information you got, and then I'll determine like what I think is legit or not legit. So it's like people throw the conspiracy theory. I mean, I've made this point before. It's like, if you think that lizard people run the world, that's a conspiracy theory, right? Mm-hmm. And if you think the CIA was involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy, that's a conspiracy theory. How are these two things classified under the same class? Like, how do you put those under the same classification? How could you, one of them is lizard people, and the other one is a government organization who has assassinated leaders in other countries, might have been involved in assassinating a leader in their own country.
I strongly feel that they did.
I'm absolutely certain of it, and
I can't say I'm certain, but I'm pretty certain.
Well, that's the thing. It's like there's so much information that's come out over the last 50 years that corroborates the idea that this was these were powerful United States forces who did not like the fact that the Kennedys were.
He wanted to dismantle them.
They had their own independent wealth, and so they didn't have to be beholden by this little like oligarchy of oil money. I mean, there was a lot of Texas oil money linked to the death of JFK. But the point that I'm making is like, lizard people, and the assassination of JFK, they all get put under this. So anything that they want to completely dismiss without looking into, they can make it a conspiracy theory. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, Schultz brought it up, and again, one of the videos I watched just before I started talking to you, he was saying, if you think that there's like an elite pedophile sex ring, then that's a conspiracy theory, like right off the bat. But if you guys think that there's nuclear weapons in Iraq, that's legit. He's like, how come that's not a conspiracy theory? Like, you don't know, you're just saying it, and then you invade the country. He's like, you were wrong, and we were right.
And Russia and Trump colluded with Russia to steal the election, pushed that for 3 years. And then when that gets debunked, and your hero, Robert Mueller, who's like, if you look into him and his, like, with regards to Iraq and stuff, like, he's no good. But even their no good guy who they thought was going to, orchestrate this coup against Trump, he couldn't do it. And then they just go, oops.
COVID.
But that's not a conspiracy? Yeah, they just go COVID. I mean, it's like Rachel Maddow still has a show. How is she not completely discredited? It's unbelievable. But it's like you chased this conspiracy theory that turned out to be just that. It was more of like a conspiracy hypothesis. And then you just go, oops, oopsie.
People still push that, though.
I know. And then it's like Russia. I don't know if you saw that. Is this going to work? Will this do it?
You can give it a shot.
I should have done this a while ago.
I kind of liked it because it made you look like those guys who like don't want to talk about stuff and be seen on TV.
I should get like an app
voice
that changes
changer.
My voice. Yeah.
I got one.
But I mean, there was the story that came out a few weeks ago, which is like Russia is bribing Taliban soldiers to kill United States soldiers. I read the article. They based that article off 3 unidentified sources within the Taliban. So this is what we're going with now. This is a news story across mainstream
Incredible
platforms.
source.
It's on CNN. It's on MSNBC. It's on Fox even. It's on even though Fox would be because they're kind of like the Republican wing, so they would be. But
they're
it's
usually
on the New York Times. It's on the Washington Post. It's all of these things, and it's like 3 unidentified Taliban sources. Like that's what we're going with.
They just kind of run with shit now. I mean, it's weird because I didn't really like Anchorman 2 all that much, but did you see it?
Mm-hmm.
There's a part where he's like, I think he's about to like lose his job or something again, and then the helicopter chase with the cars starts happening, and he just starts talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start getting all the viewers and like, what's he doing? He's like, I don't know. He's not telling the news, but it's really entertaining. And then that literally like, it's like such a nail on the head of exactly how media works now. It's just it's entertainment. I mean, my wife had it on and my kids were watching, well, they were playing in the living room and she was listening to the news while drinking coffee. And I sat down and it goes, a mother killed 2 of her kids by drying them in the bathtub yesterday morning. I was like, it's 8:00. Can we shut this the fuck off?
Yeah.
It's like, the kids are right here. It's 8 a.m. My day started with that news. Like,
it's really like, I can't watch it anymore. My parents watch it all the time. If I walk in the kitchen and they're watching it, I'm like, I got to go. I'm like, you got to turn this off or I got to leave because it frustrates me so much. But if you want to get a really good idea about that with relation to what you're talking about with Anchorman, there's a book called Hate Inc. by Matt Taibbi. It's really easy to read. It's like really good. It's not written in like, because there's another book called Manufacturing Consent, which is about this idea and the transition of the media into like this entertainment industry, and that's by Noam Chomsky. But it's a tougher read because he writes like an academic. But Matt Taibbi, like, just really easy to read. It's called Hate Inc. But because he was in it, he was in the system. Like he was a journalist, mainstream. He was doing that stuff. He was doing the entertainment news. And then he wrote a book about just that. This is the business model. That's why it's called Hate Inc. And on the cover, it's a picture of Rachel Maddow and Sean Hannity. And it's like, this is how they make money. They get you to hate each other. Because they did it for 40 years. They had the Soviet Union, scary communism, and the Cold War. So they always had an enemy. There was always someone to point to.
But now it's each other.
Exactly. And then for a while, when they had to transfer out of that, they did terrorism.
Yeah.
And it was Middle East. But now they're like, wait a second.
I miss
they don't
exactly. Middle East.
When they get us to hate each other, they don't have to rely on outside sources. It's like they would have to rely on communism. And then they would have to rely on more terrorist attacks. But now they don't have to rely on anything.
Well, now communism
every day they can think of a new way to make you hate your neighbor. It doesn't have to be someone off in Russia. It could just be the guy living next door who has an American flag outside his house, and you hate that.
Oh yeah. You know? Well, that's because he's a patriot, and he clearly hates black people now.
Exactly. And I mean, a lot of people too, it's like a lot of the people who wave the flag and they don't know anything that the United States has done. And I'm like, gee, you're all wrong. You're all wrong. That's like, I post on Facebook every day. I'm like, update, you're all still wrong. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm no better. It's like, I think that I know better than everyone's a else. Hypocrite. But yeah, I'm a complete hypocrite. But also I'm like, if it's like, I was just like writing, like something I just write about what I'm thinking about, not even jokes, but just whatever, like essays. But I was thinking like there's a paradigm between, this is like a major distinction. It's like, do you see it as theater and as just made up nonsense? Do you see it as just like a game that is being played, or do you take it at face value? And I think that that's like one of the biggest distinctions. Like if you take it at face value, you're going to have a completely different worldview than if you look at it as theater, you know?
I basically look at it as theater.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, I look at reality at this point is more than likely a simulation. And I feel like the guy is just trying to see what he could fuck with. Because like I
don't even discredit that. I'm like, this might be a fucking simulation. I don't know, dude.
Because I'm about to end this podcast in a few minutes, but before we do, I'll say my theory that I have is this coming up election. Now it's up in the air, I think, but I always thought up until recently that Trump basically had it. And I still think he has a good chance, but I don't know. I think that he'll probably win the election, and at the end of his second term, that's when the aliens show up. We were already warned, and he has Space Force. That's when he goes, listen, I have Space Force. Remember that? And you guys all made fun of me. And that's when he walks out in the mech suit with a cigar, and he just keeps being president for like another 10, 20 years. And like we're just fighting aliens. And that becomes a new enemy. And now the world is just behind Emperor Trump. I have such a strong feeling that that's what's going to happen. Dude, I'm terrified.
Well, it's because like it's probably going to be something way more absurd than that, because that's like, it's like truth is always stranger than fiction, as they say, but that's like never been more true than right now, it seems.
It just keeps getting like weirder.
That sounds like a sci-fi book, and I'm like, the reality is probably going to be a lot more insane than that, you know?
I just keep feeling like every time I think of something weird, I'm like, that's not going to happen. It does in a slightly different way. Because, like, I read The Stand not super long ago, like probably 4 or 5 years ago. I'm like, that'd be fucking crazy.
I've never read that, but I want to read that.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I love Stephen King, dude.
Yeah, he's my favorite. But, like, it was when you were saying, like, the one guy's easy to read, I was like, hopefully it's like Stephen King, because that's, like, my thing is, like, I like Orson Scott Card and stuff, too.
He's like, he writes like Steve. It's very straightforward. There's no, like, giant 8-syllable words. Like,
it's like just a guy at a campfire is how I always picture it.
He writes like he's speaking. You know, I like that kind of. That's why I love Chris Hedges, who I mentioned earlier. He's very smart, but a lot of very smart people don't realize that you have to be comprehended.
Yeah, you have to be able to talk to everybody.
All your intelligence is useless. Like, you have to write in a way that people understand, or it's useless.
I've heard the theory. I want to say maybe it was Grant Hancock or something like that. He was saying that there was a theory. I'm not sure how validated it is, but that Greek mythology wasn't meant to be taken as an actual religion. It was meant for scholars to basically explain scientific events and stuff like that to the layman. So it's like, take this story about whoever, and like that explains how this works. You're like, oh, okay. I'm like, that makes a lot more sense than anybody actually believing, because at Mount Olympus, like obviously, like that would you'd be able to find these people. Like, so I was like, oh, that's a. I mean, I've heard them like compare things like that to like the Bible and stuff as well. Like, and once like, because I think Peterson does that. He'll start talking about biblical tales, and if you break it down to scientific events that have happened that kind of correlate with the Bible, it makes a lot more sense. And I'm like, oh shit. Or like a path through tripping on mushrooms. That's another theory.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, oh, these all sound better than reality. We'll see where it goes, I guess.
Yeah, I know.
I guess before we get off, I'll show you this to cheer you up. It's better than the Nazi cuck porn. We'll just watch someone get hit by a car real quick.
Okay, that'll be better.
Is there audio? Why isn't it playing? Play, bastard. Oh, now it's not going to play. That figures. Okay, so you don't get to see someone get hit by a car.
I'll just use my imagination.
What's this one then? That's not that bad. I want to see someone get fucked up before you go.
Yeah.
I went to this earlier and I was looking through it and like nobody was really getting fucked up, but I've seen a few.
What Reddit is it?
This is Hold My Feeding Tube.
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
Here, let's what's the other one that you mentioned earlier?
Which one?
A decent one on Reddit that we can get a nice decent person get no one dying, but
extreme car crashes, that's one of them.
Nice and subtle.
Nice and subtle, yeah. I forget what else.
This one I think will do for a quickie. Is that the X-Files theme? I want to see the actual accent.
Yeah, we missed that one.
These are the most unentertaining.
Oh, that's fun.
Crashes.
That's fun.
I've seen shit like that happen in person too.
Really?
Yeah. Not like, often, but I think once or twice I've seen some weird shit.
Oh, gee, that's a good one. That's a good one right there.
Oh, that guy's definitely.
That's a dead person.
Is that him right there?
Oh, he might be. Maybe he lived. Wow.
Oh, to be Asian.
That disintegrated. That truck. That's amazing.
I've seen a few where like the car crashes and like it just like it bounces and goes right over somebody or something. Those
yeah.
Videos. It's good. Like the driver's dead, but that person survived.
Yeah, that's good. At least that's a silver lining.
All right. Well, this was fun. If you ever want to be back on, let me know. I'll find.
Yeah, this is very good. We should do it again.
Yeah. Otherwise, I guess I'll probably see you Tuesday or something if you go to one of the mics.
Yeah, I think I will.
All right. Well, then, till then, have a good one.
All right. Keep it real, man.